Standby, guys.
Okay, never mind.
I've never had to stand by before. It's so exciting.
Stand by. 10, 9, 8.
Oh, Chris has the
7.
whole setup there.
Bro, yeah. Before COVID, I got this mic, and I'm so grateful because this is literally the podcast mic.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That sound coming out nice.
Yeah. You can hear it on.
We're live now. We're live, guys.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you, Keenan.
Unfortunately, we can see you too.
Okay, that was unnecessary.
Okay. Hey, everybody watching. I'm David, and these are some of my friends. We got Swindler here, a trumpet player who lives in LA right now. We have the Comp, John Russell and Chris Kaz. They're there as well, and you'll be meeting these guys. And then we have Gengis Don and the Empire. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Maybe say a little bit about you. Help the watchers get to know who you are, what you're doing. Start with Chloe.
Sure. My name's Chloe Swindler. I'm a trumpet player living out in Los Angeles right now, doing my doctorate at UCLA, and I'm classically based, and just trying to get my degree so I can teach at college and continue playing chamber music and solo music and in orchestras around the US. So trying to make some Black visibility in the classical scene here.
Cool. Yeah, we can probably talk about that a little bit later too.
Yeah.
What about the Comp, John?
Yeah, I'm John. I'm the bassist in the Comp, which is the Cultures and Mixed People. We're so far, first album's about different experiences being mixed race. All of us in the band are Black-white mixed. And yeah, it's really cool to be a part of this. And we can talk about that stuff later too. I'll pass it up to Chris.
So I'm the lead singer of the Comp, Cultures of the Mixed People, and John pretty much said everything we needed to set the stage. But then I'm also a solo artist who collaborates with a lot of different artists. I just released an EP called Exquisite Beasts, and I have just a bunch of different art. I'm putting out solo records and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
How about you, Gengis?
What's up, guys? My name is Gengis Don. I'm a drummer, producer, band leader, and I'm mostly the band leader for the Empire, which is a hip-hop jazz group based in New York City. Check us out. Yeah.
What about the rest of the Empire?
Oh, we got Masai on vocals.
Oh yeah, I'm the vocalist. Hey y'all, I'm the vocalist for Gengis Don the Empire. I'm a rapper. I'm from Brooklyn.
We got Peter on guitar.
What's up, y'all? I'm Peter. Play guitar for the Empire. I have my own group. I'm an engineer. I run a studio, which I'm currently inside of right now in Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn right now, and that's what I do.
And we got, last but certainly not least, we got Kenan Omari on sax and flute.
What up?
Oh, introduce yourself, Kenan.
I'm Kenan, saxophone extraordinaire. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I enjoy making juice in the afternoon.
What are you making?
Making juice.
I'm making
a smoothie.
Oh wow. I'm jealous. I want a smoothie.
It'll be really good, so
All right. Cool. All right, yeah, that's everybody. And the thing we all have in common, sort of, is the reason I asked all you is because I know you're all from Boston, where I went to school, where I met Gengis and John and Chloe, and a lot of these guys have, got bands now and are doing other things. It's really cool. So I guess kind of the next thing I want to touch on, that sort of the theme of this video series, is Quarantide. We're all going through weird times right now, in quarantine. We're all from our houses. Um, so I'm curious to hear how y'all been dealing with that, specifically with regard to music. Like, how do you practice? Do you practice? How have you been like staying a musician, in this time? And this is for anybody. We don't have to go in order or anything. So anybody who wants to chime in on that can.
I will. So like, I've actually seen a huge like opportunity in all of this as a musician to really hone in on my skills and get even more disciplined. And so I put in minimum an hour a day of practice on guitar. I try to get something done with production every single day. And then outside of that, I've been like dabbling with gardening because I don't think I would have the time for that if I had to work the way I normally do. That's been the thing, that's sort of like with process. And then John and I have been just talking about songwriting each week with the comp, and we've actually just been doing this thing where we invite people to come on and talk about songwriting and the approach to songwriting just fundamentally, and just inviting anyone to come up, and you all are more than welcome to come on our show. And that's been about the brunt of it. I'm just producing and practicing and just kind of getting recreational. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go off of that. I feel the same way. It's been like really invigorating for my practice sessions. It's been very humbling. I feel like oftentimes if I have stuff to prepare for like concerts, I can get by, and there's a lot of stuff in my technique that I know isn't there yet, but I'm like, it'll get there eventually. But now there's no concerts. Like, the idea that ensembles are pushed back until next year. I mean, the only person who's going to be listening to me play probably is going to be me for the majority of the rest of this year, which means I should probably get it together. So I transformed the closet into the shed, and been playing into all my clothes, and it really helps to hear the tone of what I'm making, and again, very humbling. But it's been really strange for me because I am a doctoral student. I'm in my 7th out of 9 years of college. 2 more to go after this. But I've still had to do Zoom classes online, trying to do engaging discussions about music and problems with music. And one of the classes I'm taking is on African American musical heritage. So basically getting to learn from home about the history of Black American music, and being able to get pissed off by myself and listening to the histories and listening to the music and enjoying the music and sort of situating myself in each era has been really, really cool. So there's been a lot of upsides. I don't have to drive 2 to 3 hours every day also, which is nice because LA traffic is crazy out here. But it's definitely been nice to be to have the privilege to be at home, and to have the time to work on what I need to.
For me, I haven't had that experience with what you guys have been experiencing. I've been like, every time I practice, I'm like, what's this for? Because I'm not gonna play anytime soon, you know. So for me, I guess
bro, you're in the hyperbolic time chamber, man.
Yeah. I mean, like I have been like the big internal struggle for me is deciding whether to like put out content during this quarantine, because just solely because it's like I don't want it to get lost in like everything that everyone else is putting out. And I feel like that has been like a really big issue internally for me, you know. And like I've touched drums like maybe 3 times since quarantine started, because I just wanted to try to like focus on other things, you know, like working on production stuff, like mixing stuff for people, and just working on like self-development. I think is a really big thing that a lot of people have been doing right now, and like it looks easy, but it's actually not at all, because I've been just in my feelings a lot. So yeah.
But I kind of resonate with what everyone is saying. Like, I've been super like creatively productive, but I've noticed like I'll have these spurts or like little phases of being like hyper productive, and then go through like these spells of being super, super lazy. So it's kind of been like an up and down thing for me. But definitely like with this time on, even aside from just like creating stuff, I've just been like working like on self-development and like figuring things that I want to do. Also, like I have a lot of like new material that'll last me for like mad long, I feel. Um, which is something that I've always like pressed about, like just like putting things out. So yeah, it's been a cool period.
Yeah, I feel like I have I've been trying to get to know my instrument again. I think that like I'm sure everybody feels this a little bit, but like when you're like getting new music for the gig, or you're just trying to get through the next show and get through the next thing, you end up all of your practice time gets dedicated to just learning something to pull it off on the stage either once or X number of times. And you don't really work on just like what it means to play your instrument again. And I think that like in the beginning of this quarantine, I spent a lot of time trying to just like reacquaint myself with like what is the sound that comes out of this thing, and like how does it work, and just like really try to reconnect to like why I'm playing it. And then I think that like that got like really daunting really quickly, because I had forgotten that like I haven't practiced my technique in a really deliberate way, or practiced my sound in a really deliberate way in maybe like 8 years or something. You know what I mean? Like since I've been like maybe 18 or something, you know? And so it was pretty stressful. And I think that like it still is a little bit. And I think that like, you know, I resonate with Masai and like having these sort of like creative bursts where like I'll have a big writing day or a big shed day, or I just like won't do anything. I just like won't want to play. And like a friend of mine said something really important that was like taking the time off is of just like being with yourself is equally as important as like seizing the moment when it comes to you, you know, which I think is something that I haven't let myself do for a lot of my life. But I think that I'm trying to learn how to do that, trying to learn how to sleep more, eat more regular meals, you know, like try to like live like a normal human being for once. And it's like, I can't decide if I like it or not, but like, I think that it's probably like emotionally and future productive in some way. And I think that like I have the saving grace of being able to still do some sort of remote mixing and like production work for people. And so like I still have like some general like set of goals and structure for my days. It's not like totally aimless. But I think there's certainly been a couple day periods where it's like I have nothing on the calendar, no end in sight really, and it just like becomes this whole of like, all right, I guess I'm gonna like walk in circles for the day, or like play a different instrument for a while just to like kill time, or like read a book for the first time in years, and you know what I mean? Like, and so or like think about trying to go to grad school again or something like that. You know, it's just like all these other things start to build up. But I don't know. I think I felt relatively mixed about this time period in general. But I don't know. It sort of like is what it is at a certain point. I'm trying to resign myself to understanding that like we won't play a show maybe till January or later, you know? And so it's just sort of figuring out, I can't just like be stressed for like the next 6 months. You know what I mean? It's like you have to acknowledge your condition and figure out how to deal with it. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's just been inspired by a lot of the things people are putting out, and like lots of things like people are expressing about like their time, what they're working on and stuff. And so I don't know. That's what I got.
Yeah, I definitely like I vibe with what everyone's saying, and like I think at the like start of the shift of everyone being like, okay, we're gonna have to like really like actually stay home. I feel like there were so many things. Everyone's like, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of like hardships and stuff coming up, but like also more time. And I feel like I said yes to way too many things, between like mute, like being like, oh, I'm going to like shed my instrument like way more than ever. I'm going to like read more than ever. I'm going to do like, you know, I organized with some like racial and food justice groups. And I was like, yeah, like I have time for all of that. And now I'm just like, why did I do that? And it's like, you know, you hit these streaks of like really just being on it and you're like, oh, dope, like my time's great. And then you'll go like 3 days, you'll be like, I didn't move once. But it's really like good for introspection and like trying to slow down amidst all the stuff going on.
Cool. Yeah, I like you guys are focusing on the positive side of it. Like it's such a negative thing, but we can all like bring something good out of it. I want to go back to what Chris says about gardening. Do you have a yard or something?
So me and my girlfriend bought a house, and I happen to be lucky enough to be in a relationship with someone who owns a house. And so like
Congrats.
I've been just I really have loved gardening for a long time. And so I'm just kind of living that dream here right now. And we've planted some rhododendrons and some like Fuji trees and like and
Rhoda what?
wildflowers. There's yeah, do you know what plants are? You live in Brooklyn?
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
Do you see green ever? Oh no, but
I see green, but
yeah,
not that kind of green.
but not that guy. No, but yeah, so it's been good because it feels good to be able to like work with like the dirt and the soil. I got poison ivy, which I'm almost a little bit proud of because now it's all cleared up, but it was like horrible a week ago, but it was just like it's all kind of par for the course. And it's just like a reminder to slow down and to chill out and to just, you know, reflect. And you just watch those things grow. And what's cool is like planting seeds is kind of like planting ideas, or similar to like posting on the internet. Like you don't need to overdo it. You need to water those things. You need to put them in the ground, and then you kind of just need to leave them alone. And I feel like we're in a situation right now where like we have so much idle time. It can really feel like we need to just constantly say something, and really that's just like you're gonna get buried that way. I mean, like I'm having, you know, as I'm releasing this EP that I produced with a different artist and producer, is since I'm posting every week, I'm just watching like my like attention from my audience plummet. And it's sort of like gardening in the sense that it's like you got to just put it in the ground, give it some water, and let the sunlight shine on it, you know, and that's it, you know, and don't like overcrowd your soil, essentially.
Kind of along what Chris is saying, it's been really interesting to watch how many people are posting about what they're doing all the time and like the oversaturation of that.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm basically going to like just say what I'm doing all the time, because if I do that, then it's not like I'm just stuck at my house not really doing anything. But I found like over the last maybe 2 weeks, I was like, I can't look at Facebook anymore. Like, I cannot keep opening up Reddit and YouTube and Facebook and just cycling through this and refreshing, and there's nothing happening. No one is doing anything really other than trying to stay home and, you know, going to work, going to do what you essentially have to do. But it's been really nice to take the time to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like gardening. That sounds nice. Oh my gosh.
I think that people are kind of afraid to be alone, you know, especially as
Yeah.
artists. Like as artists, we're very like in tune with our feelings. Generally, we're very in tune with our feelings, and we're very emotional people, you know.
Yeah.
I think that people are alone, are really afraid to like be by themselves and only have themselves and their thoughts to themselves. And I think that it's a really scary time for people because they don't have that attention, and they're seeking that attention through posting constantly about what they're doing. And I think you see it with like all of your friends and people that are doing the same thing you're doing in the same field, you know. And I think that it's okay to be alone and not post stuff, you know, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be there after this whole thing is over. So, but for me, I think that like I had a hard time finding that balance and of knowing when to like, all right, just chill out, don't post anything.
I've seen your Facebook.
Yeah, but the thing is, all right, yes, all right, yes, but at the same time, like I also know when to take time off.
Yeah,
and just like worry about myself and my own mental health and well-being.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting that we all, without saying anything, immediately just started talking about social media, right? Like we didn't at any point bring up like how that is related to like anything going on mid-quarantine, but like
My
we all,
fault.
without saying anything, like no, it's true though, but like we all, without saying anything, like immediately started talking about like what people are putting on Instagram all the time, you know? And like I think that like we all accepted it immediately as just like part of the normalcy of like what it means to do what we're doing all the time. And that's like that's weird. That's really weird. You know what I mean? Just to for it to be so normal, I think, in general in our lives. And I don't think it's like necessarily like the worst thing, but I just think I thought it was an interesting observation just to think about how like we frame our own like productivity and success specifically in a time of isolation based on how we're engaging with the way other people are doing things. And I think that in some way can be productive, can be motivating, but can also be like pretty exhausting and defeating. And like when you're alone all the time, it's hard to like not look at your phone and at least like feel like you have company in some way, even if that's company of people being like, I'm really depressed right now, I really don't want to do this anymore. At least you know, there's misery loves company or whatever. But yeah, I just thought it was a weird observation. I don't know.
I think one of the happiest moments I had was about a year and a half ago when I deleted Snapchat off my phone. And it was very freeing, mostly because it was like constantly being able to see what the best of what everyone is doing. Sometimes depends on who you follow, but being able to see like, oh, I'm doing this right now, like I'm having a really great time. And if even if it's only like 5 or 10 people who have that out of like hundreds of people that you know, it's like, what am I doing? I'm just like sitting here like on my ass, like not getting anything done. I'm not touring. I'm not, you know, playing some show somewhere with some big artist. Like, what am I even doing? So it was really helpful to do that and to take the time off of that and to just set it down, because it's misleading. Definitely.
Yeah, and like, you know, Chris and I, like with the comp, we were like trying to like use social media for a while. Like we did like a quarantine concert like way back earlier, and it went
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
Like,
the first one went extremely well.
yeah, people loved it, like and it was cool. But then like, you know, now it's just like so saturated, and it's just like damn, people really just want to watch goats crawl on people doing yoga over like watching music at this point.
It's so true.
Because like there's 2 billion concerts on Facebook at any given second now, and it's just like, you know, let's just like slow down with that and do our thing instead of like trying to always appease like the public or whatever.
I will say that I think that after this is over, I think that there will be like a musical resurgence, you know, like
Yeah.
Harlem in the 20s, you know? I think that there's going to be so much great content that people are going to create and have ready that it's going to be like just push the music forward a lot.
Do you think the quarantine will change the, this is actually kind of from a question from Facebook. Do you think the quarantine is going to change the kind of music that you're making because you're at home?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'm writing a lot more shoegazer stuff lately. A lot more sad stuff. But then also like gratitude music. That's been kind of my angle a little bit. But like for the most part, it's just like it's all like the mood is kind of like melancholy or like, and it's just what's coming out naturally, you know.
I think that like I a lot of my process is like grounded around like playing piano or like some harmonic thing, and that is sort of the beginning of my writing process. And usually like very very early in the process, I will be bringing it to other people because I'm not trying to like tell someone how to play their own instrument. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna like write horn parts for people because I don't play a horn. You know what I mean? So I'll bring it to people and immediately start workshopping and doing all these other things. But like without like an easy way of like sitting down with someone and like working through something, it's like really hard to do that. And so I think it's good in some ways. It's forced me to understand idiomatically how other instruments work and like how parts make sense or don't make sense. All these other instruments when I'm writing for like a larger ensemble. But like in terms of I think the character of what I'm writing, it's not so different. I think that like I'm not in any way like a prolific composer, and I think that I spend most of my time with like learning other people's music, and I think I like it that way. But like I think trying to write more music and sort of trying to like find my way through this path of like what really is like the voice that I'm looking to express is like a weird process. But yeah, I think the weirdest thing for me is like literally just trying to orchestrate for an entire band, especially without like most instruments around. You know, like I can't really get around a trumpet very well or something like that, and I can't like figure out how to play a part and be like, does this make sense? Or even like I don't even have like a drum set with me, and so I'm like I can't even like sit and try to like play a groove that feels good or to try to move around on some things and be able to present it to someone as like this is like a rough musical idea. Like I just don't play nice with MIDI. I'm just like really bad at it, you know? I'm like totally competent at other digital things, but I'm so bad at MIDI drums. And so I just can't program them. So I'm just dealing with like beatboxing voice memos and like sending it to somebody to be like, what do you think of this groove? Do you want to play it? Do you want to see what you think? You know? And it's really hard to not be physically in the same space when you're working on something with somebody.
Peter, why you don't never send me nothing?
Well, I didn't think you're gonna respond. When was the last time you played saxophone? Like 3-4 months ago? Real talk. Tell me.
Yo, our last show was the last time he played saxophone.
100%.
Yeah, that was the last time I played.
Exactly.
There we go. You're just hanging out with your smoothie and your SP404 all day. That's what you're doing.
Wrong. Game Boy. Game Boy. That's where I'm at.
I think along David's question, for me, like I moved to LA in September or August, and since I moved here, I hadn't played any guitar, I hadn't sung anything. I'm usually like writing music, and I just didn't have the time or the energy at the end of every day to do that. So it's been like really nice to get back into it and to realize like a lot of what I have to do is classical music, and a lot of what's expected of me is classical performance for recitals and solo works. But it's been really exciting to think like, what is my next recital going to look like? It doesn't have to be like this really classical standard. Like I want to get other people in on the mix. I want to get someone like Anais, who's like one of our friends, who's a composer, like a Peruvian American composer, singer, songwriter, and she was supposed to be on my recital. So just trying to figure out like what are the classical norms expected of me right now, and how can I take the time of what I'm doing right now, which is definitely not really classical, and turn that into something else. I've been playing a lot of actually Bach like partitas and trying to put them over like hip-hop mixes.
Yes.
Which has been done a lot, but it's been really fun. So yeah, just trying to find something different.
That's such a like awesome 90s approach. I cannot wait. I want to hear that stuff. I definitely want to hear some of that.
It's fun. It's actually
Yeah.
a really good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like for me, like it's been good because like production's always kind of been like a side thing for me. I mean, in some ways, but you know, doing the
He's
album,
so good. He's
doing the album with the comp has been really good because it's like forced me to like crack down on production stuff. And like, you know, I like a project over the summer, I did the score for a ballet, and like that was just like really eye-opening, be like, okay, there's shit I gotta learn. And like during this time, it's been really cool, like trying to figure out how to like blend that in, like get like some more of like the like standards of like, how can I mix in like like synthetic strings into like comp stuff. How can I, and like taking the time to, like we don't have to get the album out for like our album release show because like that's not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
How can I mix in like a lot of new sounds from like other realms of my playing into each other, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gengis, did you ever like put classical stuff on your mixes?
Do it.
Do I have a what?
Have you ever like put classical stuff in your music? Like classical
I've listened to like
music?
your whole catalog, Gengis. You better do it. I want to see this happen.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
No, I
Drums
really love like jazz mixed with classical music. It's like the newer, like the modern jazz. A lot of the modern jazz has like classical influence in it, and I really like that stuff. And I've been trying to incorporate that into the Empire stuff, but like I'm still learning it. So yeah.
Oscar Peterson has done some really cool like classical jazz fusion, and that I forget what song it was, but he had this great recording, and it just showed me that classical music can really like groove hard, in a jazz context and obviously in a hip hop context too. So it's really cool, like mixes that classical harmonic structure with just the feel of jazz.
Genghis, if you're truly curious about that, you should listen to Concierto de Aranjuez by as performed by Miles Davis. It's one of the greatest compositions I've ever heard in my life. It's so good. I've listened to it 100,000 times, and it's really good. Yeah.
I feel like modern jazz musicians are only like Ravel. Does anybody feel that way? I feel like so much of the modern jazz stuff is just someone's like, oh, I just like rewrote this like Ravel piano thing for this. Like I feel like that's like what I see everybody do, which is cool. Ravel is amazing, and like I think a lot of like the sort of harmonic influence of like that early 1900s, late 1800s like impressionistic music like fits in like the jazz box pretty well, and then any sort of like later Schoenberg kind of stuff that like works over like really new music, Steve Lune, Vijay Iyer kind of stuff, it like all fits nicely into those boxes. But yeah, I feel like I've made that observation that people like jazz musicians like love Ravel in like in a weirdly unparalleled way. I don't know if anyone else.
Do you agree with them? Do you think we should listen to Ravel?
Yeah, I think Ravel's great. I occasionally will listen to Ravel. I just don't listen to a lot of classical music. I think that like after I finished college, where I studied, ostensibly studied classical music, I think that I lost a lot of like the structure of like what it means to like listen to these composers, and like how to me a lot of the value of it was related to like reading the score and like talking about it, and like I don't know, just like trying to hear like the melody or something like that is like very difficult. It's just like I'm so not used to listening to it that like just like listening to a piece, like I get like pretty immediately lost in like the form and like where the melody is and like where the time is, because the time floats a lot. And so I think because it's difficult for me, I like immediately run away. But I think Ravel's cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Somebody in the YouTube asked, have any of you worked with a program called Session Link Pro? Have any of you heard of that? Okay. Apparently it's a web-based remote recording studio. Yeah. What tools have you guys been using to help to collaborate online?
Ableton Live 9.
Google Drive. Yeah, Google Drive.
Oh yeah, Google Drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
I've just been yelling at my bandmates to upload shit to Google Drive incessantly.
Yep. I'm late right now, actually, today for Google Drive upload.
It's funny because there's like a lot of like very specialized tools that are like totally encompassing collaborative browser-based workstation DAW things, but Google Drive works. So it's like they don't get they're not as necessary, I guess.
I mean, like who wants to learn a whole new software? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone's so used to their DAW. Everyone like knows what they like to do with it. Like no one wants to like go like learn a new thing when you like already know what you're doing. Like I refuse to
Plant a
use
tree.
anything other than yeah, I mean fine, but like I refuse to use anything other than Pro Tools because I'm like I don't know, dude. Like I could learn this and it's fine, but I'm like I'm not sure like really what like value I'll get out of this, given like the oftentimes what I'm asked to do for people or something like that. And so I feel like. Yeah, I mean the internet like production collaboration things are probably pretty interesting. And I don't know, does Avid like Pro Tools do like that like cloud session thing? I don't know, like I never tried it, but I supposedly you can like cloud work on a session with somebody. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if anyone's
with Ableton?
With Pro Tools.
Only with Pro Tools?
I've heard about that.
I think Ableton can do it, but I just know like in my file menu on Pro Tools it says like start cloud session, and I'm like I don't know what that means. I'm like afraid to press it and like to see what happened to my session. Like I don't really know how it would work, but like
The laptop just like shoots off into space.
It could. You never know, man. I don't know. My laptop. I don't even have functioning sound on this laptop. It only works when I have headphones in because I broke off the headphones.
You load the DAW. You catapult it to your friend. They make the changes and they catapult it back.
Yeah, it seems like the high tech shit that Avid's trying to get on.
It comes back down. It has like a Nas verse on it. You didn't even ask for it.
Also, like, when you guys do production, like, how common do you have like multiple people doing production work? Like, it's normally just like one person running it and the other like doing tracks. Like, I don't even know like what benefit like cloud production has because like you normally just have like one person like take over. That's why I've kind of dodged Session Link is like.
Oh, that's the program the guy was talking about, Session Link Pro. Okay, there we go. I might be behind on it. Anyways, yeah. That's the thing. I guess it must be like the most commonly used one. But I can see it'd be good to maybe listen to a mix like live with the maybe if you're working with a customer, like if you're producing for somebody, then you can play it and then instantly like change the reverb on the spot, like in the actual VST, and then play it back and see if they like it. I feel like it'd be good for that kind of workflow.
Yeah, but low-key, I feel like Zoom can do that though. You know what I mean? Like you can like pipe your interface into Zoom and like just screen share, and like you could effectively do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like I was shocked that you could hear. Like someone was just showing me something they were working on. It was only like in a Logic session, and so they just like sent their audio out into the Zoom, and it like sounded shockingly good for being like streamed to me, you know. And I was like, even though I don't like really know what this sounds like, I think it's like there's still some kind of loss that's happening. I'm like pretty confident that like I understand like the features of what's going on in this song and like roughly how the mix sounds, you know. And so it's hard to think of why you would want something different than what you're already used to, just a way to share it, you know.
And also with like just like streaming in general, like when Chris and I do the live streams, like we'll stream the production of our album, and it's like at 320 kilobits a second, so like not lossless by any means, but like, you know, the highest quality like variable bit rate you'll get, and it sounds great. And Chris and our other bandmates can just listen to it and be like, yo, change that, or like don't do that or something.
Yeah, I feel like most of the collaborative experience of finishing a record in the modern age is not really lost in this situation at all. Just like, especially like, again, with the comp, I gotta say, like we've just been, it's felt, you know, I mean, the timeline's completely gone because of the situation, but it's like, there's never been a moment where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we're in an impossible situation where something can't get done. You know, I feel like we actually kind of just have more opportunities to be creative and to add to what we already have. You know.
I've got another question here. It's kind of what we were just talking about. Have you found any new ways to collaborate with people via distance?
Nothing new.
Nothing new.
For me, Google Drive, like sending files out. What else? It's been like, I tried to like do a FaceTime music video. I had an idea for like a FaceTime music video where it's like FaceTime and like you just like sync the music over actions and you just edit it and stuff. But it didn't really pan out. So other than that, that's been just Google.
Was that going to be real time, or was that going to be like a video?
It was gonna turn into like a video, but then it would have been edited and everything, you know.
Huh. Sounds wild. Yeah, it's like stuff like that you wouldn't really think of before all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Artists are very resourceful people, man, and like when it comes down to it, we know how to like keep the art going, and I think that this is just another test for us, and we'll get through this.
Yeah. And I think to jump off of what Gengis is saying, like, I just feel like we're at this point, like, because things are so oversaturated, it's definitely a quality over quantity game, at least for me. And I feel like, I'm not really too concerned with trying to adapt to the moment as much anymore as I am just like trying to just like hone in on what I know will work well in the future when things are closer to normal. It'll never be exactly the same, but it's just like, I know that we're going to be able to go outside again in like a year or two and not worry about stuff. And so I know that we're going to have concerts again, like, so I'm like, all right, why don't I just make stuff that, let's just, it comes back to planting those seeds, creating oases, right? Putting things out that are just like definitely really good and well done. And then just like, and that's it, like not worrying about like trying to get attention right away.
Yeah. Speaking of concerts,
yeah,
venues. I think that's another thing.
Yeah,
venues are going to be a lot different. There's not going to be as many venues, I think.
Yeah, a lot of them are going to die off
for sure,
which I think is good for the industry in the long run.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so. There's so much corruption in Boston, in my experience, and I have no problem saying this. I just feel like there's this kind of hard. There's not a glass ceiling. There's like a brick ceiling. And then it's like, there's this distance between like the popular artist and the local artist here that's so far that you can't really bridge that gap without leaving the city. And
that's very true.
And I'm so excited to watch places close and to see like brand new venues and new projects start to show up. Like there's this thing called like the Dorchester Art Project. I'm really, really excited about them. I'm really excited about the Greater Boston Artist Collective. I'm just excited about like Black and queer owned businesses that are just going to start to surface and thrive because like older businesses that have been around for decades are falling off right now because they're just their practices are shady, like, and they exclude people, and they just like the quality. It's not about the artist. It's about like I don't know. I could go on and on and on and on and on about
politics,
about Boston music scene, politics, but point is, I'm excited for not the short-term future, but the long-term future, if that makes sense. When these new venues surface.
Do you think that what you're saying is like not exclusively, but like relatively specifically about Boston?
Yeah.
Just because I think I've experienced that. I went to school in Providence and so spent a reasonable amount of time in Boston. And I also sort of experienced that there's a really strange sort of like, there's very little space in the middle above being like a relatively successful college band versus being like playing Paradise Rock Club or something.
That brick wall, by the way, is cover bands. It's
exactly.
It's wedding band.
No, totally. Yeah, and I think that like that. I think that certainly exists everywhere to some degree. I think maybe it's less so in New York, only because there's so many more venues. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a really vast array of venues and sizes and shapes and neighborhoods and ownerships and vibes that are relatively specific a lot of the time, that I think that is a little bit less the case, at least in my experience. I could be wrong, but no, I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out, though. I mean, I wonder how what the economic structure of like the future music venue looks like. You know what I mean? Like how does, like in some way that we're in this interesting moment where like in like an ideal world, like this is where like artists like can like create greater demands for venues in terms of payment, in terms of scheduling, in terms of all these things. But it's like if we're like equally as that much of an economic disadvantage as like a venue is, we also like don't really have any saying power in the same way. You know what I mean? Like there's like pretty intense institutional and structural change that would need to happen for I imagine a lot of these things to a lot of the sort of like shaping of venues and like new sort of identities and policies to exist. And like I totally don't have a solution. I'm only saying this to further complicate things, you know. But I just thought it was interesting. I'm really curious to see what happens to the venue. Like just the concept of specifically just the small venue, right? The like under 300 person venue, like across the world. Like what does that look like now? Does it exist? And is it like only the smallest ones that continue to live, or only the largest ones? You know, I mean, it's really hard to tell based on just like the way that these places are owned and structured. And like, is this a moment for you?
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, and is this like a moment for DIY to come back in like an unironic way? You know what I mean? I thought about that too. And, like as much as I may or may not like it, like that might be like the landscape of what we're looking at for like a certain period of time, because that's like the way in which people know how to put concerts on at this moment. Anyway,
This is one of the things we've been talking about in one of my classes, is what classical music venues are going to look like when we come back, especially because yeah, we have venues, concert halls, whatever you want to call them. Thanks, Lyndon. Gengis, whatever it is. But when we come back, we're hoping that classical music won't be as exclusive. Also, the expectation to sit in a dark concert hall right next to someone without making noise, or being able to turn to them and be like, wow, that was awesome. Or just having a strict set of limitations on you and those expectations for the whole duration of the concert. We're hoping that when this is all done, more concerts may look like the Hollywood Bowl venue, which attracts a much more diverse audience, has more diverse music coming through as well. And we're hoping that classical music is going to see that its patrons are genuinely dying off. And unless they attract patrons that are more diverse, from diverse backgrounds and have diverse needs, that there's not going to be anyone funding orchestras down the line or funding these classical things. So yeah, we've just been talking about what concerts are going to look like in the future, and if classical music is even viable going forward.
I think it will be.
It will be, but it has to adapt. Yeah.
Same thing with jazz, though.
Yeah.
Same thing with jazz venues.
I think like a lot of the kind of like fair weather fans of music during all of this like are just abandoning music for the most part, and like the fair weather fans are the fans of like cover bands and like just the, you know, music so loud in the corner you're still screaming over it, trying to like get drunk with your friends, as opposed to like you know, like Chris mentioned the Dorchester Art Project, and they do like really awesome concerts.
Quality.
Yeah. And it's like you see a lot more music that's about people, like way more of the time. And like, you know, it tends to be like black and brown too, but it's just, I don't know, it's so much easier to connect with. And like, that's something that you don't like when it's in quarantine, like you still want to feel connected with that. Meanwhile, like the bar scene or whatever, it's just like, you know, you're not like super attached to that.
I think I'm hoping for more home concerts. I just, you know, getting to meet people. I mean, some of the best concerts I've been to are house concerts. The most intimate relationship you can have with the performers, and as a performer with your audience. So I'm really hoping for more of that. That's been something we've been talking about for classical music as well, is like this type of music originated as house concerts. It wasn't really this glorified like concert hall stage with these strict expectations. So I just want music to go back to the house.
I know in Philly and during my time in Boston, like there's a big house show scene. I don't know about Rhode Island, Peter, but like I know that was a big thing. Those shows were like they were great. They were intimate. They were packed, and but everyone there was there for the music. You know.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's like, you know, the most important shows I've ever played were house shows, probably. You know, like I just spent a lot of time like in college, like basically touring other colleges or other apartments in college towns and playing shows, and that's probably how like I now currently have the majority of work and the majority of success that I've achieved is probably related to that, you know, just like being in these environments with sort of like with like committed young people basically who are like, whatever this is, like I'm going to blindly commit to saying that this is the best thing right now at this moment. And there's something important I think about the urgency of like a moment in a house show or something like that. There's something that's very special and inimitable about it, and like not performative or something like that, or it can be not performative. And I think that that's really important for like developing that intimate connection with an audience. Chloe, what is the institutional funding looking like in classical music, like in the future? Like I don't really know much about what the classical world looks like, but I understand like a lot of it is institutionalized, and so I'm curious as to like how the funding is going to be set up.
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I know I'm not entirely sure that a lot of the funding that these organizations get is strictly from ticket sales. So I imagine that a lot of it is supplement from grants and elsewhere. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like in the future. And I'm sure that not having ticket sales for 6 months plus maybe a year isn't going to help anything any better. But I think like at the end of the day, the venues that are going to survive are going to be like major concert halls, and the ones that maybe like middle tier aren't going to exist anymore. So there's going to be like a greater need for these smaller, intimate community venues. One of the best shows I've been to was out here in LA. I think it was near Central Ave, and it was just a coffee shop, and it was packed. It was packed with local Black LA people from the community who came out to see an artist, and I have never seen such an intimate show and a packed place that was so small have that level of energy come through it. And I think that's what is gonna prevail as we go forward, are these small local community areas putting on concerts, especially for classical music.
Something I want to ask about is what music you guys have been listening to. Like in this
Friends
time.
only.
What?
Friends and people I've met only.
Cool.
Shameless plug. I made a playlist called Artists I Know. Gengis is on it. And it is dope. It's all hell. It's all the people I've met in the past 10 years. I've been doing music in all kinds of different scenes in Boston and New England for like 10, 11 years now. And like, they're all on there. It's like, I think it's something like 500 songs or something like that. And I just listen to that because there's something new every day. And there's so many different genres. And all kinds of stuff. There's like R and BDM. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah. Where can I'm gonna share it in the chat.
Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat for all y'all to see it. Oh my god, I have it queued up right now. This is so cool. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I think that listening to your friend's music right now is like very important.
Yeah, for real, because like, you know, I don't know. I think we're in a time where we need to just like support each other as artists instead of trying to like compete against each other for space. Is that like that's how we're gonna preserve quality and like preserve like, you know, continuity for everyone. And like I just, you know, I totally respect like majority of us are doing that thing. We're only talking about ourselves because it's like it's hard to not to you know to get attention right now. But yeah, I think it's just push the artists, you know, like the people you're close with, that like people you've met, you know, at auditions, the people you've met like at gigs that you shared a bill with, like all those people, look up their music, dig those people up and listen to those songs. That's how I'm going about it. Not a specific genre, not like a vibe. I'm just like, because I never put time aside to discover the people that listen to my friends. I'll be the first to admit that. And like now it's like, that's been really important to me. Yeah. So I just shared it in the chat.
This has been one of the big debated things with professional trumpet players in the classical world right now, is a lot of them are coming out with these like free master classes.
Yeah.
Where people are trying to like convince students to take lessons with them so they can continue to get income. So a big thing has been like major artists creating a bunch of free content, which is great,
Yeah.
but it is really not as helpful for people who are up and coming to get people to listen to their music or watch their masterclass or what have you. So it's been funny to watch that play out.
That's like when U2 like downloaded their record into everyone's like
Oh my god, I
Apple
totally forgot about
playlist.
that.
I boycott it to this day. I've never listened to a damn song on that record.
Yeah, neither have I.
It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away.
I love that song, but because that's not on that record. But I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. And T Swift did a similar thing. It's dirty. I think that's dirty. I think when you're famous and you already have a platform and you squander it by giving free shit away and like ruining it for people that are trying to struggle and come up, it's like, you know what you're doing. Like, come on. I don't know. That's my opinion on it.
Well, there's something too. My teacher was talking about this with me during my lessons, where he was saying,
yeah,
I have a problem with people doing this because there's also, like, do you want to know how your favorite artist, what they do every single day? Like, do you want to know what their process is? Like, part of it can be also illuminating, like, wow, this person isn't as great as maybe I thought they were, or maybe there isn't like some magical thing that they have.
Yeah.
There is, like, it kind of demystifies like the great artists that you look up to if you're able to just like look at what they're doing all of the time.
It reminds me of Esperanza Spalding, the live stream album.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Oh yeah.
That was fascinating.
Well, Chloe, to piggyback on what you were saying, I think that seeing that some of the artists that you look up to and like these bigger artists are on the same level as like the local musician right now, just in terms of access to gigs and to other resources, you know. We're all in the same playing field.
It's kind of leveling the playing field. Yeah.
But I think that combination, along with the venues, there being less venues, makes it kind of like a shaky thing right now, because when it does become a thing again where you can have gigs and everything, they're gonna go for those artists that are already established.
Right.
And so there'll be less opportunities for that are like up and coming to be able to show like their worth and stuff, you know?
No, I would definitely agree. I mean, if I'm thinking about this, if I'm like the LA Phil and 6 months of my concert billing just got canceled, who am I gonna have come for the next year of performances? Am I gonna have people that no one's heard of, pieces that no one's ever heard played before? Or am I gonna play Beethoven symphonies? Am I gonna have, Yo-Yo Ma come? Am I gonna have very popular like headline grabber people come so I can make back the money that I didn't make over the last 6 months or whatever? So I think that when it comes back, the people who are at the top who will guarantee like an income for venues are definitely going to be asked back, and the people who maybe were working their way up are going to get pushed even further back down to have to compete for more venues and times again.
Less venues and less time.
Yeah.
Well, it depends too on the hustle that people choose to hop into during this weird waiting period we're in. Like, there's an artist, I forget his name. He's this like online YouTube guy. I'm sure you've all seen. He does, I don't know his name. I'm like I shouldn't even mention it because I don't know his name. But like he's doing this thing where like he's touring at drive-in.
Mark Riboulet.
Yeah. And like it's like that's how you get over on like the the people who are already famous. It's like go in and take advantage of things that where it's not about a venue at all. Like he's putting on probably local businesses that would have died without COVID happening, where like now there's probably a demand for drive-in movie theaters, because think about it, we can't go into real movie theaters right now. And like it's just so smart, and it's just like I was like, damn it, I wish I thought of that.
But that's kind of hard with like depending on where you live, because New York there's no drive-in theaters like that.
No, there's not.
It's like it's too saturated of a place to have something like that.
But I think the point is like, what are some things like that, right? what are areas that aren't normally considered venue, like big parks, right? Like, or like, or just maybe like Times Square, like things like that. I mean, like those are all places that are already super populated, but you kind of get the idea. Like take that and like just apply it.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing that I think's going to be really important is like just like being really intentional about the space you make as an artist going forward. So like with the comp, like we try to like really make sure that we don't want to like just have music. Like we're trying to bring in like visual artists, we're trying to bring spoken word artists, and we're trying to like blur the line between like music and arts, because like you hear people all the time talk about art and music. It's like, is music not art? Like what is that?
Music and art and activism.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'd be curious, like I don't know, Keenan or Masai, like what do you think of like, because like I know Gengis, Chloe, and Chris closely, and like we kind of take pretty standard approaches, like, but I'm curious like what y'all think.
Before you go forward, I just want to introduce the new.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's up?
Hey guys, it's Don.
Hey,
how you doing? Just got off of work. Hope I was still able to catch you guys. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, we'll be on for a little bit longer.
All right, cool.
This is Don Hanson. He plays bass in the Empire.
Don, it's good to see you, man.
What up, Ken?
What up?
What's up, Masai? Is Peter here?
Hey.
Yo, what's up, dude?
Yo,
Don, hey, Peter. Hey,
I love how he has his DHX bass in the background.
You know what it is. You know what it is. That's my IG. Anybody wants it, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yo, David, good to see you too, man.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad you could get on.
Yeah.
How you been?
I've been good. This has been a really, weird time. Just in terms of everything going on. But it's been, staying in has been able to help me dig into some stuff a lot more and work on a lot of projects and cranking on a lot of music too. So it's been good. I'm thankful because I'm secure right now, but it's been good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of different topics. Sean, I think we left off. You were saying something.
Yeah, I was just kind of like posing the question of like blurring the lines between like the different arts, and like Masai was saying like in the beginning, like just like your poetry and such, and like also like the Empire is like so dope whenever you have your poetry with the music. So I was just curious what you thought of that.
Of blurring the lines between art. I'm sorry, could you say this?
It's a pretty poorly formed question right now, but just like like having like your intentional space as an artist, like rather than like just being a normal band that goes up, plays music, leaves, like just like anything different you could toss in, because I think the Empire does that really well. And like
how do you subvert the norms of like the venue, the bar, showing up and playing at those, like what are you doing to challenge that, essentially, I think is what you're asking, right? In a way, kind of. I don't know, I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I think that in terms of, because I curate as well, and so in terms of just like art curation and like spaces that art exists, I think that especially during this time, it's important for us to think about restructuring the way that we're doing things. And I think that house shows are going to be like a really big thing. I think that art can exist really in any space, and we don't have to like think about the traditional venue structure. We can honestly Yeah, I don't know. Like a friend of mine did like an interview recently, and someone asked her like, what are venues that you want to perform at? She was just like, I don't really have venues I want to perform because I mean, what are these venues and these institutions really, to art besides like exploiting us? I don't want to turn into like I don't want to start preaching, but I mean,
Do it.
Feel free.
Preach.
I don't
Go
know.
for it, go for it.
Also, I think it's interesting with like virtual space, the way that virtual space is being used. Even though, I mean, I don't necessarily really like the idea of like too much virtual, like the music concerts. I mean, I think that they're cool, especially like utilizing it during this time, but I think that the connection like definitely gets lost. But people are being mad creative right now. I don't know, we just have to think about more things to do.
I think kind of along similar lines, but slightly different. One of the best things about being in quarantine and being still in classes right now is the lack of stress, of racial stress, of going into the music building and being like, my black ass is one of the only like 3 or 4 people in this specific program, and I have to come in and deal with racist curriculum. And it's nice to be able to do that from my home and to not have to deal with that stress and then get in my car and carry that home with me and then come back the next day, drive in my car for an hour and a half and think about what's it going to be today. You know, there was an instance where we had a rehearsal at one of my schools, and this black woman came in, like, she just wandered into the building and she asked if she could like come and listen to the rehearsal, and the director was like, sure, whatever. And eventually, like halfway through, maybe a half an hour later, she left, and he was like, I just wanted to make sure, like, I kept an eye on her to make sure you were all safe, like, during this, like. And I was like, the only black person in the room, of course, out of like maybe 50 or 60 of us. And I'm like, why was that person perceived as a threat when white people come in here all the time to just listen to the rehearsal? Like, stuff like that, I'm just very grateful that I don't. It's stressful, and to also have to like go up to a teacher who's like in charge of your music program and be like, we should talk about this. Like, why do I have to talk about this? It's nice to have these like racial instances of extreme discomfort for me and lack of acknowledgement from other people happen on a daily to weekly basis. It's nice.
That's real, man. That's real. Yeah.
To not have to deal with that in venues either is also nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just for a while, Chris and our pianist like had somewhat similar hair, and people all the time would just come up and be like, to the piano player,
wait.
you sang so well. And
Wait.
it's just like,
I have an even crazier story. So I play in the Boston wedding scene. And a mutual friend of mine and John's got married recently, and his whole family thought I was John because I wore my hair in a ponytail, not dreads, a ponytail, y'all. And like, they were like, where's your bass? Are you going to play bass tonight? Are you like, I'm a singer. I play guitar and I dance. And he was like, I don't play bass. And like, several people came up to me, and I had to lean over our friend. And I had to be like, hey, like, dude, they think I'm John. And he like, I was kind of trying to make humor out of it, but he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So sorry. And that's just like, I am relieved to not have to deal with that. In the wedding industry, you play primarily for like wealthy white Republican people. And like, you just have to deal with this, like, this just blindness to anything like culture outside of white American culture, to anything like racial. They really don't, it's like not on their radar at all, so it's been nice to not be in that environment. Albeit a party that I get paid to play at, but
Yeah, and it is weird doing that. It is weird, like doing that and being in that environment. And you have to think about that. Like Chloe, you said before, you had to think about that while you're trying to focus on what you're doing.
Yeah,
like
It's stressful.
it is. Yeah.
Like no one else is thinking about this. And it's the type of stuff where when you enter back into that space repeatedly, whether it's every week or every month or whatever, like it comes back like every time. It's like a stressor place. There's like a word for it, but I don't remember what it is, but it's it's not a fun feeling.
Yeah.
And especially
So, like,
I think part of what's strange about quarantine is seeing probably more black people being killed over the last like 2 or 3 months that it's coming to light, and just like what can you do? Like if police can come into your house and literally shoot you, they have the wrong house, and your family just has to accept that. Like how is that like the America that we live in? And as a musician, just trying to like most of what we do is concerts or performances and going from place to place to do that. And without even being able to do that, without being able to say their names and acknowledge that they existed and had a life just like all of us, is really hard and wild.
Just wanted to like pose a question from what Chloe was saying. Do you think that as musicians we have a responsibility to address these issues, or do you believe it's like whatever we want?
This is literally the main thing that I learned from my time at the Yale School of Music, was just how pissed off I was from what I was seeing. Especially like in New Haven last year, police shot a woman who was like in her car at 2 a.m. and it sparked a lot of riots. New Haven is also a deeply segregated city with a lot of problems, but one of my greatest accomplishments that I felt was doing a performance that I had written about Michael Brown and performing that in the concert hall, which was such an uncomfortable experience for me because it's all white audiences. They're expecting for you to come in and play a nice piece that isn't thought-provoking, racially provoking, fits inside all of the boxes. And doing that made me uncomfortable, made the audience uncomfortable, and I still have people talking about it that will bring it up with me. And so that was the first time that I realized like it is almost more important to be performing. Obviously, you can't do everything that way. Like if I was just that performer, I would be labeled the black performer who does racial stuff. So you have to also establish yourself as like an artist in other ways, but it's equally important. I know when we saw David and Lyndon, we saw, was it Braxton Cook play the set, and he has one of his songs, I don't remember what it is, but it was, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what song you're talking about. I forgot the name though.
Yeah, but it's super important to mention. I mean, you're a black artist. I mean, it's part of who you are, and if you're not able to use your platform to call attention to injustices that are happening to your own people, like, what are you going to use it for? That's just...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like...
2 minutes.
Okay. I feel like we all, like, not even only as artists, but I feel like as human beings living in this society or in a society where everything is so broken, I feel like we all have the responsibility to use whatever forms that we have to spread awareness and help. Specifically as artists, I think mostly it's like important for us, or it's our responsibility to be honest and like live in our truths, especially, you know, if you're a black artist or you're a part of another oppressed group. I think for us to like speak our truth, and because inherently is like revolutionary. So yeah, it feels weird just talking about bullshit though, in art. during like heavy tense times. Like,
It's crazy how quarantine did. I'm sorry, did I cut you off.
no, I'm done.
I was saying it's crazy how a quarantine doesn't stop these issues, you know, and it's still like they haven't gone anywhere. And in fact, like people are more glued to like the issues now because they have no other distractions. They have to see all these injustices going on.
Right.
And I think that if it doesn't help the cause, like us, this quarantine, I think has like there's like an underlying theme of self-awareness. And I think that with everything going on with like the police targeting Black people, and like I saw like this article that said like 80% of the citations given out for like not social distancing were for Black and Latino people. Yeah. In New York City alone.
West Village.
Yeah.
Like, when was it? Like 2 weeks ago? There's
when it was
like,
nice. Yeah.
It was full and nobody had masks on. I was like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, but I think the self-awareness part is just like, all right, we have like this quarantine is making you be self-aware of what's going on, and you're seeing like the injustices. Like you can't run from it. There's nowhere else to go. And I think that this will open up a discussion of how to attack these institutions.
No, I think that an underlying thing of that too is like we're social distancing to try and save more lives. So you're trying to be more cognizant that what you're doing has a direct impact on the safety and health and wellness of someone else that you don't even know. So it's like along those lines, if you're gonna take the quarantine seriously and stay home, but you're not gonna care about people who are being killed by police brutality, like whose lives are you valuing? Like you know where your position lies with it. So that is, I totally agree with you. That's like a total underlying theme of all of it.
Yeah. This might be a good segue into the comp. We haven't really talked about Chris, what does the comp stand for?
So the comp stands for the cultures of the mixed people. It was sort of mine and John's zeitgeist. I've had this dream for a while to put together and to kind of speak towards mixed race identity. I grew up mixed race. I grew up in a household with a white passing father and a Black passing mother, and you know, they're my biological parents, and I grew up just really just always kind of dealing with a lot of confusion about like, where do I fit in? Do I sound Black enough for this space? Do I like, you know, can I fit in this scenario? Am I white enough to get this job? Am I like, you know, where do I fit in? Because like our culture, like American culture, draws a hard line between Black people and white people. But folks who are mixed race have to live in this in between, whether they want to or not. And we have to just ask ourselves the question: am I like, what am I? Am I Black? Am I white? Regardless of what we look like on the outside, we have to ask that question. And I don't think other people really do in the same way. And I think that's kind of it's about just raising that awareness that we're a part of the African diaspora, we're part of the Black struggle, you know, when we're Black passing, but we're not, you know, we also have to be able to like recognize that like there's privileges that come with being mixed race, that there's, you know, that there's an onus that comes with being mixed race, and that's being a bridge, a glue, a way to kind of to change and to heal the conversation of racism, especially in this country in America, where being specifically Black and white mix means that you are the oppressed and the oppressor embodied. And I think that that's so important to recognize and to speak that truth. And so that's kind of what this is about. We put this together. It's been so many conversations between me and John. John is so insightful. He's been, just this like, we're an oasis of, he's been an oasis of just like, of just knowledge and realness and and honesty and like, and so I it's just really changed me as a person to finally like, to say, I was in the car with him. This is when we started this band. We were, I think we were on our way back home from our first rehearsal, and I was like, John, I'm really afraid to, say this, but this is what I want to do. And he was immediately supportive of it, and like has been taking it in a direction that I could have never brought it to on my own. And like, I'm just, yeah. So that's what the comp is about in general, yeah.
Yeah. And like, to add on that, it's just like, it feels really good too, because, Chris was saying like, is what I'm doing Black or whatever. But like, also what does Black even mean? Cause like, someone like, for me, like my dad was born and raised Jamaica. His Blackness is way different than someone who's like born in Nigeria or like Benin or something. Like, it's just like, so like in uplifting, like mixed race is just like uplifting the different ways people hold
and like
their identities.
multicultural as well, right? Like you could be from Haiti and come to this country and be treated and still have to deal with the same racism that comes from that assumption that we're all the same. And I think it's the twisted view of us all being the same, not the clean view of all being the same, where we are owed the same privileges. Like that is the oppression that we all face as a collective of the African diaspora. Is like, no matter what your mix is or your culture is, people treat us differently and we're more oppressed. And I think that on the other end of that, though, is just I'm kind of rambling.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, in
But
short, celebrating the differences, uplifting the unity.
Yeah.
Also, like, we're like, a big thing for us is like just like working with like a bunch of different people, like for all of our shows that we've kind of put together. Like, we're bringing in a bunch of, like I said, we had spoken word artists, we had visual artists, we had activists at our shows, so that it would be like some music, then talking about like some cause, then like showing off some visual art, then like some music again. So
yeah,
people looking to collab, hit us up.
Yeah, you guys have every other Saturday, right? You're doing live sessions.
That
and
is
make
correct.
Music.
Yeah.
I've been to those. Highly recommend them. You guys just make a song on the spot, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Right now, our guest artist is Chris Walton. We're gonna do another episode with him, tie off this song we've been working on. Doesn't have a title yet. But we just worked out like this. It gets so cool and weird and deep and awesome.
Is that tomorrow? Or?
Yeah. Well, actually, we're gonna be doing an artist benefit concert tomorrow at 8:00 with this college based out of my hometown, Worcester, called Clark University, and we're filming video for that, and that's gonna be pretty cool.
Is that old girls' school?
No, that's you're thinking of it's in Western Mass. What is it?
Smith,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, we're nearing the hour and a half mark. We got to start wrapping up. But before we go, I want to give everybody a chance to say anything else they want to say. Also, if you want to shout yourself out on the various platforms and tell us where viewers should go to find your work, feel free. I think we'd all appreciate that. Chloe, you can go first if you want.
You can find me on SoundCloud. I think if you just Google Chloe Louise Swindler, it should show up with my SoundCloud. if you go to the Chloe Swindler music page that was tagged in the post to get to this link, I think the first thing on there now is my SoundCloud link, so you can find it there too. But it's like a mix of trumpet, piano, vocals, some ukulele for some easy listenings.
You do a lot of different things.
A lot of different things, that's right.
By the way, yeah, we haven't mentioned, but Chloe's also an excellent jazz singer.
Thank you.
So hit her up.
To that time that Lyndon and I collaborated.
That was a great song. That's one of my favorite songs.
I was so pitchy. I'm so sorry.
One of my favorite songs ever. Yo, your mom still listens to that song all the time.
What song are you guys talking about for the viewers out there? Where can they?
You and Me? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
You and Me. I just made up the lyrics randomly. It was a good time.
It was awesome.
Good. That was fun. Time for simpler.
Yeah.
You can find Gengis. Find me on all social media under Gengis, and you can follow our Facebook page, Gengis the Empire. We just released a live album, Gengis the Empire, live at Brooklyn Bowl.
Bandcamp. On Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp exclusively. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Cool. And you're releasing stuff personally too, right?
Oh yeah, I have my own production stuff that I'm working on. My album is coming out whenever, but like my next single will be out May 23rd on all platforms. So look out for that. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so the comp, we're releasing our record, our EP very soon. We're about 6 out of 8 songs. We're ready. We're very close to being ready to release this thing. You can find us on Instagram at the comp. I changed my name to the comp. Like and follow us and subscribe for updates. And then of course you can find me at the Real Chris Kaz. I'm putting out records, just solo stuff. I'm self-produced, doing all that. So yeah.
Sweet.
Everyone, send me your Spotify's because I wanna put them on the Artists I Know playlist. You gotta, it's the dopest playlist on earth, and y'all gotta be part of it. If Gengis is already there, but like if you got any other stuff, other side projects from Gengis band, send me that stuff. Chloe, send me your stuff. All of it. Yeah.
Everybody, yeah, like Peter, Messiah, Keenan, Don. You guys can tell them.
Oh yeah, I'll go then. Well, actually, I'll go. Yeah. So at DHX Space, I don't have anything out right now. It's coming soon, actually, and I'm gonna have some new music coming out. It's pretty exciting. I'm pretty happy. But yeah, working on the bass and some other stuff and some production and some music video production lately too. So a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, and then I just made that little link tree thing that connects you to all of my stuff. So yeah, it's just Masai on all streaming platforms. I got a few projects out, and we'll be dropping more stuff soon.
Yeah.
I'll go bump it too. That stuff's crazy.
Wait, what you said?
No, I said it's good. It's good. That last track you came out with was hot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Don the man.
How about you, Keenan?
You can find me I'm on Instagram, Keenan Omari. That's pretty much it. I don't really have much.
Keenan has like
million.
Keenan has like
Keenan
a
has
thousand.
literally 100
All
beat
of
tapes
it.
on Bandcamp.
Yes.
Got all of it, man.
That's not important. What's important is we gotta break out of this matrix, man.
100%.
Keenan is 100% the most prolific composer that I know and probably will ever know. Almost definitely.
Dude puts out a beat tape every time he breathes.
It's stupid.
One record a week for like last year, crazy, so crazy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Thanks. But yeah, we gotta break out of this simulation, man. That's it. That's the one thing that I learned from this quarantine. I ain't really say nothing this whole time, so I've just been listening. But before I go, yeah, we gotta break out of this. Cause even as artists, we gotta like get past this artist self stuff and all this music stuff.
Yeah.
And all this social justice stuff. It don't really mean nothing. Like at the end of the day, we still doing this art. We still promoting ourselves. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we still trying to, push the artist thing. And if anything gonna change, we gotta like not worry about doing the artist thing.
Is that a Game Boy?
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. We gotta break out of the simulation.
Out of
See,
the
this is what they
matrix.
doing to us. They're playing us.
You gotta be yourself too. You gotta be yourself, and you gotta be true to your music and what you're trying to release. It's
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel weird promoting myself during these times in my artistry. It's like this is not the times to be. It's too much going on.
people need it though. It's really funny because depending on what you listen to, that can really change your outlook on some things, like how your day goes, like what your mood is. Like listening to like new music is like really cool right now. Because you're giving somebody a different experience, break off from everything that's going on. And like I think that's really powerful. And especially now, because people need that. Some people are like by themselves and really struggling. And some people are with their families, which is really cool. If they are, it's really dope. But it's almost doing a service to some people. Even though we should really be looking out after our creative vision, what we're trying to achieve. That's really cool to be able to help people in that way.
Yeah. But that's all from me.
I would say, as sort of ending, but I can see both sides of that coin. Of one side being, this is not the time. People are literally dying, and the world is shut down. People are unemployed, and the people who are employed are probably putting themselves on the line right now, potentially compromising their health of people they know, what have you. But on the other end, it's like, these are times where people are looking for something, and art has always been one of the staples of what helps us to continue to go on and what helps make the day-to-day better. So I see both sides of the same coin. Yeah.
What about you, Peter?
About what? About
Plug
promoting myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, after Keenan's about to make me feel bad about it, I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Yesterday I put out my first single ever, which was sweet. If you, my group is called Honey Trap. If you go to Honey Trap NYC on Instagram, we just, everything went up on streaming platforms yesterday, and we have a video on YouTube. It's the first single for this record that I wrote like 2 years ago, and finally is done after like re-recording it twice, as it tends to be. But yeah, so the single just came out yesterday, and then the whole thing comes out in like mid-June. But yeah, check it out at Honey Trap NYC on Instagram. There's a little link tree in the bio with all the stuff like inside. Yeah.
We'll try to get that video into the chats.
Sweet.
Sick video.
You already know my opinions on self-promotion. It's all about gardening. It's all about patience. It's all about quality and watering and feeding your plants and giving them good soil. That's it. Oh, you missed that whole conversation, Don.
Oh, but that's a good summary. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
gotta
He's
garden.
being figurative and literal.
Yeah.
But if you water too much, the plant will die. So you gotta
That's
find
true.
You know
the
what's
balance.
funny?
You don't want to drown your roots.
I was just listening to
feel like-
Secret Life of Plants today.
Yeah. That is the greatest album.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
it's so good.
Great
I was
album.
just listening to that. I mean, like you can't love gardening and be a musician and not listen to The Secret Life of Plants.
I'm not sure about gardening for me, but
I love garden. It's a whole other thing. Like I said, you missed the conversation.
yeah. No, I feel you, man. Sometimes when I'm mowing, I'm like, here we go, get it done. But,
Yeah.
I think, John, you're the only one who hasn't shouted himself out.
Oh, word. Follow the comp, but like mine is like at John Carnell. I mostly post activist shit, not my music stuff. So if you don't want any of that, that's understandable.
John tells the truth.
You want the truth. All right, cool. I think that's it. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this. I really, really appreciate you doing this and sharing your thoughts. And I hope everybody watching, thank you guys for joining too. I hope you guys enjoyed this and maybe learned something. I know I did. Yeah, that's it. Thank you again. And I hope to see all you guys in the future. I'll be looking on social media. I've appreciated my feed being full of, your music for the last month or so. It's kept me going, so I appreciate it and keep it up. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
cool. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Nice to meet everybody.
See everybody.
Nice talking with y'all.